Hello, welcome back to the Girls That Get It podcast with your hosts, Ken and Han, the ones that you know and love. Today we are back with Ken's interview. If y'all did not listen to last week's episode, I'm referring to this as Ken's interview because last week we started not a series, but like a two-part series, I guess you could say, on our podcast where we decided that we wanted to interview each other and get to know each other better and let the listeners get to know us better. And we've had this idea since we started the podcast. And so last week, Kenna interviewed me and we dove deep, asked all the good questions. And so now this week, it is my turn to interview Miss Kenna Casto. So that's what we're doing today. And that pretty much explains it. Are you ready? Are you excited? Are you nervous? How do you feel?
I'm ready. I am both excited and nervous. I feel like we always have good convos on here, and I do feel like this is like I'm very comfortable just chitting chatting with the bestie. But I don't know what's gonna come at me, so always a little nervous.
And I'm the interviewer.
I get nervous for a random Q&A, much less like my life story.
I know this is all about you, bestie. So you better buckle up and get ready to do some talking.
Strapped in.
Okay. Let's get right into it. Number one, how would your parents describe you as a child?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked. When I was a child, I was the opposite of everything that I am today. Colton, who is my twin brother, was the loud, outgoing, very sociable, very personable, like active kid. I was the quiet one. I carried around books as a toddler. I like to like play by myself in my room. I will say I was always very artistic, and they were nervous that I wasn't going to talk or like maybe had a harder time developing because Colton talked like very, very young, and it took me like significantly longer to say my first word. And I think my first word was dad because I was sitting in my dad's office and he like looked over and he was like, did you say what I think you said? Which makes sense because me and my dad are besties. But yeah, I will say I did always have a very kind of like smart or maybe devious mindset. Something my parents always told me is when I was younger, Colton would come steal my toys. And so what I would do is I would go play with a different one and make it seem fun. And he'd come steal that one.
Stop.
Just so I could go back.
I'm a mastermind at a young age.
I knew how to get what I wanted. And I knew how to, just finesse the system. I will say I don't know, when I was in late elementary school, I was at the age where we still had babysitters, so we weren't left home. I had a real hard issue with authority. I did not like, they claimed like I played a lot of sports, so my dad deemed me as uncoachable. I just didn't like listening to him. And then I also would like be very, very like aggressive towards my babysitters, which like they were just doing their jobs. Like they were supposed to be nice, but sometimes we'd end up yelling at each other. And like looking back, I don't know why I resorted to that behavior. Surely something caused it, but now I would never even think to behave that way. So it's truly been a roller coaster of personalities and getting to where I am today. But definitely would say I've evolved.
That is for the better, honestly. If you were an aggressive child, we don't want that now. So thank goodness for the evolution.
Yeah, I was
Not
like
even
a
an
really
aggressive
quiet,
child, but
like peaceful baby. And then when I got to like kind of personality age, it was terror. It was feisty.
It's over. It's over for you.
Crying. Yeah. And then we evolved, but
that's funny. That's that's interesting. That I would not have known that. Okay. My next question is, what sticks out to you most now about your childhood? When you think about Kenna Casto's childhood, what sticks out to you most?
Yeah. A few things come to mind. I was just really involved in everything. I was always on the go, and I played every sport under the sun. I did every after-school activity. I went to summer camps every single week of summer. So just constantly like a very active childhood. And my parents were so into like putting us into things. One, I think it helped them so that they could both work, but they were also really passionate about finding things Colton and I enjoyed doing. They were always very active to listening to what we were good at and what we weren't and what we liked. and maybe things we struggled with, and how could they either personally help us get better or like help us with how we handle things. Like one thing my mom has always told me is like when she gets home from school or when she gets home from work, she needs 30 minutes to decompress. So she would always tell my babysitters, like, don't push her to do homework right away because she will get upset at you. Like she needs to have a creative outlet for a little bit before she like sits down and goes back to work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
which I now see in myself as an adult.
I was about to say, it sounds like some things never change.
Yes. And then I will also say, looking back, I think whenever I tell someone I have a twin, people become instantly fascinated. And it is such a crazy phenomenon and great like life partner in a way to have, even more so than just like a regular brother or sister. But I didn't really know him until we were 18. So looking back, you would think I'd have all these memories, like me and Colton doing this. And I remember what he did, but it wasn't together.
It was like separated.
Very much so, especially at least from when my memories start. I know when we were babies, of course, we were probably together all the time.
All the time, right.
Which I do really thank my parents for letting us be so independent. They weren't like, oh, Colton wants to play baseball, so Kenna, you have to. Like if they'd be like, try it, and if you don't like it, you don't have to.
You don't have to do it. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. That
brings me to my next question. How was it growing up as a twin? Which you kind of touched on barely, but dive a little deeper.
I feel comfortable saying this because as Colton and I have gotten older, we have talked about this a lot. I instantly think of the constant comparing and a very serious competition. I don't think anyone necessarily forced it on us. It was just natural. And I know every pair of siblings goes through this, whether you're a twin or not. So when I say this, it's not exclusive to just twins, but I know from experience, twins feel it more deeply. And I do think, and I'm thankful every day that he wasn't my sister or I wasn't his brother, just because I can't imagine like being the same sex or potentially being identical and being like really compared or having to share things. And like, thankfully my parents have always been really good. And honestly, they've given me a lot more than they've given him just because girls are expensive. But they do make a very, 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 even to this day, a very, very strong effort to make things even out. And even if they aren't even in this current moment, by the time they pass, it will be even. And we have been made aware of that from the time we were born. But yeah, a memory that sticks out is Colton took chemistry the semester before me. And then I happened to get the same teacher the semester after him. So I walked in, and the first thing this woman says to me, and my very first impression, which if you know me, I don't like science. I'm not good at it. I struggle with it, and I'm very open about it. But I had to take this class, and she said, "Oh, you're Colton's sister. You have a lot to live up to."
Oh, wow. Okay, miss, I know who you are, but I ain't going to say your name.
Yeah.
Dang.
And eventually, my mom did end up telling her that this comment really bothered me and she did apologize. And I understand why she wouldn't know that. But something Colton has come and told me since is like specifically in very artistic things or even in sports. He was like, it sucks to have a sister that's starting varsity volleyball and I'm on the bench.
Right,
you know?
Right.
Like,
yeah. That's the first thing I think of too when I think about twins is how people probably compare them. So that's why I wanted to ask that question and see if you answered it in that way because that's like what I think of anytime I think about a pair of twins. I'm like, well, I feel like they get compared a lot. So,
but I will say the biggest blessing is like through all of our stuff, whether it was going to church activities or specifically Lyceum, if I came down to it and I didn't have a partner, or if I needed someone to confide in or like ask for help on projects or homework or like how to handle things, like it was kind of like the walk of shame if either of us ever was like, hey, can you help me? But I knew like when we went to, for the listeners that don't know what I'm referring to, we took a spring break trip when we were in high school to the Florida Keys. And we got put on a boat and you had to find a partner. And I got put on a boat with no one that was my friend, but Colton was on my boat. And we just looked at each other and we're like,
you said, hey, partner.
Yeah. So, yeah. And it's one of those things, if he would ever come to me and be like, I need someone to sit with, or like, you just
vice
do
versa.
it. And vice versa.
Yeah. Well, that's good. You have a built-in partner and homie in case if all else fails.
Yeah. It wasn't until we got to college that I now feel like I know him as a human being and a person and as a friend in that way.
Outside of just being your twin brother.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of school, which you touched on a little bit, my next question, and this was more geared toward your younger years of school, like elementary and middle school. But my question is, how was school for you? Did you enjoy it and find it like an exciting part of your life that you were like, can't wait to go to school, see my friends, go on the playground? Or was it hard for you at all?
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you asked this question. I wouldn't have thought to ask this, but it's a huge part of my life, obviously. I lived for school.
Okay, tell us more.
I love structure. And that's what school gave me. By going to camps in the summers, I didn't really have like a typical summer, like go hang out and have fun with your friends. So I didn't experience that. And so I thrived in school because that's when I got to see my friends. That's when I got to do all my normal extracurricular where I had my like dance friends and my volleyball friends. And like it was a social setting as well as a learning setting. I also always, and even to this day, love learning. I never want to stop. I love the idea of going into a room and walking away with more knowledge than you came in with. So I really loved it. I also loved, like, specifically in elementary school, like, they really deck it out. They make it cute. They make it
true.
I always wanted to know what the
experience.
theme. Yeah. Like, you know how they put your name on like a bumblebee?
Yes.
Like, I want to know what a bumblebee looks like.
I want a bumblebee now. Give me that.
Right.
Bring back elementary school classroom vibes, please.
Yes. They do a great job of making every child feel special. And that is such a pivotal point in your life. Which is why, like, I did my senior project in high school on the importance of elementary education.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And part of me and my family has always said that I would be potentially a school teacher like my grandmother was on my dad's side. Because she was a kindergarten teacher and I loved it. I'm a big coloring gal, got to color a lot. So
I feel like you would be a really good teacher, actually.
Yeah, because I love kids. And, it's a great environment for me. I will say with the twin brother thing, it was always tough because I was like on average and slightly above average. Colton was like to the moon. Like he's just out of this world. So he would always get... Yeah,
I will say as an outsider knowing them before I even became friends with Kenna, I'm not saying I thought Colton was better, but I just, whenever I thought of like the smartest person in the room, I thought about Colton Casto, literally. Before I even knew either of them personally, I was just like, wow, Colton's a genius.
Yeah, it's taken me a long time to really recognize that about him because as a kid growing up, sure, I knew he was smart, but I didn't know what that meant, and I didn't know all he was capable of. I didn't even realize when he got into Princeton what a monumental like thing that was. I was like, okay, it's just a college, like
yeah.
And then obviously broadening my horizons and seeing how people have developed. I'm just like, oh, he's a different beast.
He is. Well, and you both are very smart in very different ways. Like you guys are opposite in that way. And when I say Colton's very smart, the reason I say that and thought that before I knew them was because he's very book smart, and while Kenna is very book smart as well, she's very smart creatively, and that's where she shines. And a lot of people don't respect that as much, which is why I think people think that about Colton. Just giving my 2 cents for the listeners. This is not about me, but I'm just saying that's how it seems.
1,000%. Well, and I say that because when you're in 3rd grade and they pull out the AIG students and you're not one of them, but your twin brother is, it's like, so what do I got to do to get over there? And to be honest, I wouldn't even like it over there. I don't want to do harder math. Are you kidding me? I'm over here doing my thing. And then it did eventually thankfully, my elementary school was cool enough where we could request to be in different classes. So that also started the separation of like just coexisting rather than living together, because we would go to school, be in different classes, go to different extracurricular, and then get up and do it again.
Yeah.
So Yeah, but love school. Big fan.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wanted to know the deets. So this is kind of about growing up as well, and you touched on a few things a little bit, but I want to know, what were your favorite hobbies growing up? And I know you said you did a lot of sports and all of that, but I want to know, along with that, what was kind of Casto dying to do after school, during school, before school? What were your hobbies?
Yeah, well, I was put into everything. There was a point in my life where I was taking dance classes, playing school volleyball, soccer, and basketball, while also doing competitive soccer, basketball, and volleyball. I was in the church choir, and it got to the point where my parents were like, okay, you need to narrow it down. You physically cannot be at all these things, and we will not pay for you to continue to do these things.
Yeah, that's a lot.
The list goes on. There could have been 20 other things, but they were so avid about us being a part of things. And my mom made me play an instrument in middle school because she's like, you need to have a performing art, which dance was my life. And I loved it. And I remember growing up with my dad playing college sports and just being like the jock that he is. I really love sports. I was better at sports than I was dance. But I did not enjoy practicing. So I truly think I could have played college basketball or volleyball. And if I would have put in the work, maybe professional, I don't know, because I never did that. But I just kind of saw earlier on that to do that, you give up a lot of your personal life, which isn't the issue, but that becomes your personality. And I just knew I wanted more skills beyond a sport. I also knew I didn't enjoy sitting outside and shooting hoops. I like the game, I like the action, and this is going to be arrogant, but I did not play volleyball outside of volleyball season in high school.
Yeah.
I didn't practice. Most girls were on a club team and I was not. And that was the one sport that was always very, very natural to me from the time I was in 6th grade. I played travel and they would always advocate for me to be on the higher team, but it was a lot more money and a lot more time commitment, so I never did. But the thing I sucked at was dance. But what did I love the most? Dance.
You did not suck.
I sucked at.
Yeah, I don't know how you danced as a child, but when I knew you, you did not suck.
No, I was probably better as a child than I was as I got older, just because to truly be good. Well, when I say to be really good when you become at the senior level, you need to do it. That needs to be your full-time job. You don't need to go to regular school. And when I was great for a good competition dancer, for an 18-year-old, for someone that spent as many hours as I did at the studio. But I love the atmosphere. I love the family environment. It also was such a good place for me to set goals and achieve them. I remember the day I got approached to be on performing team, and not just because they wanted my business, but because they were like, oh, she's good. And then I will say dance was a place that that brought me a lot of joy, but also brought a lot of drama. Some of the people that I was around and families that I was around, I do all love them and respect them now. We're all cool, but I know I was just so invested, and this is where I found out about my good and bad quality of caring a lot. I would let things get to me, and people were nasty and mean, and a lot of times it was their mom putting thoughts in their head, or their mom saying things. I also danced for at least for the majority of my dance career, a company that was very, very flexible. And that's why I love dancing for them. Not only am I really close to the owner and the staff, and I care a lot about those people, but she let me play sports and come late. And she let me be involved in Lyceum and Beta Club and Honor Society. And I still made a point to be at all the super intensive things. But it let me do other things. And it also really, because I started teaching dance. I'm just going on a whole rabbit hole. I'm wrapping it up here shortly.
We got a lot more ground to cover.
But I just fell in love with it. They really just opened this eyes to me. And I also loved, I asked Hannah a question in her interview was, do you think dance is a sport? I do not think dance is a sport. Even if you compete, I just don't think it's about winning. I would consider it an art because truly you're trying to improve yourself. And it doesn't really matter what the group does. If you're improving and you're performing better or strengthening your muscles or your skills, like that's what it's about to me. Which is also why I approach competing different. Because we had some weak links and I got tired of it. So I was like, you can't focus on the weak links. But yeah, fell in love with that. I'll wrap that up because there's a lot more to say, I'm sure.
There is. Okay. So last couple questions about your childhood. And I think this one could maybe be a shorter answer, me telling you to answer it shorter. Did you have any childhood dreams for your future self?
Just to love what I do. I've said it before.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
I struggled for a long time to know, and my whole childhood I really spent searching, like, what do I love to do and what would make me happy? And what provide, and I'm thankful. Part of that's my mom just pushing me to find things.
Yeah.
And not even in such a direct way, but I'm thankful they listened when I gave feedback about things and let me do what I want. So
that's good. That's a good answer. All right. So that kind of transitions into the next question a little bit, talking about things that you love to do. When and how did you realize that product design was your passion and the thing you wanted to pursue? For the listeners, I'm going to say, if you don't know, Kenna is a product designer. She went to Parsons. She majored in product design, and now she has an amazing job where she is using her degree. So I want to know when that started, how, when, why, and like what made you even know what product design was and that it could even be a career that you would enjoy.
Yeah. I'll start with when Colton and I used to play the game of life growing up. You know how you can pick an occupation?
Yes.
I always wanted to pull the artist card. And Colton was like, you dummy, you make the least amount of money. You're not going to win the game. And I said, why does it matter if I win? I'll be happy.
And he's over there picking the doctor card, probably.
Right. He's getting the, like 100,000 sal. Yeah, you know. Which, sure, I lost, but I had a great time playing.
Right.
So, once again, shout out to my mom. She kind of made me go to this camp when I was getting ready to be a senior in college, to this camp at NC State University. And it was a design camp, and we got to explore their 5 different design majors, product design being one of them. I remember that day we were given a hypothetical client, and we were tasked at designing a product that would be a solution to their problems. We had to do a pinup, which basically means we just make sketches, make prototypes, whatever we want to do for our final, and then do exactly that, pin them up. And sometimes you get to explain what they are, and sometimes you don't. And the dean of the design program walked in, and we were at lunch, but then when we came back, he was like, I'm just going to pick one that really stands out to me. And he picked mine. And I was like,
pop off.
Okay. So from there, I was like, wait a second. I'm getting ready to apply to colleges. I had currently been planning on applying for a marketing degree because it's as creative as you can get in like the business world.
Right.
So I was like, I wonder if this is a valid option, and if also my parents would like be supportive of me doing this, because I know they didn't want me to dance. Which I don't really think I wanted to either, but being told I couldn't do something made me want to do it.
Made you want to do it more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I debated about a couple different types of design, but I just love the versatility of product design, and kind of just went for it and fell in love.
Cool. I feel like I've asked a lot of questions about that before in past Q&As because you don't talk about it a lot, but I still to this day swear that nobody knows that. Like, that's why I want to ask it every time, because I feel like you don't talk about design a lot, and that's such a huge part of your life and something that's really important to you that maybe I don't know if you purposely don't talk about it or if you just, it doesn't come up, or I don't know, but I want to touch on that. Yeah. People
That's
ask.
something
Ask her. Ask about Next question, what do you wish people asked you about design? People ask.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that really my next question or no?
No, I just made that up on the spot. Okay. The next question is moving on to your college years. Since, as we know, moving away to go to college, whether it's an hour away from home or 20 million hours away from home, it's likely the first time that we're leaving our homes and like having some sort of independence for the first time in our lives. Did you feel any hesitation with the fact that you would be moving so far and to such a huge city without knowing many people? For reference, she moved to New York City when she graduated high school to go to Parsons. And that's a scary move for a lot of people, especially for a new like high school graduate, like you're 18. So how did you feel? Mm-hmm. Was there any hesitation involved, or were you just like, nope, this is it?
I know when it came down to deciding between my top 3 choices of schools, I really debated long and hard. I think I waited till like the final day to submit it. I think in my heart, I always knew what I wanted and what I was ready for and what like was calling my name. It was more just thinking about how other people would view it, how my family would view it, how I think I've referenced this a little bit recently, but there's this version of myself that I have in my head. And I don't know if in high school I was always vocally or like really admitting that through my actions, through what I did, through all that I could do. I was kind of just going through the motions in a way and just honestly trying to survive high school. I wasn't crazy popular, but I wasn't like not popular. I just didn't have a good like sense of community in that way. So I knew I liked these creative arts things, but to find a home where I felt that, I struggled. So that's why I knew Parsons and I knew New York, like that was the chapter. That was it. Thankfully, like I mentioned previously, I did summer camps most summers. So I would spend 5, 6, 7 weeks away from home on a college campus, which is also probably why I felt like I had been there, done that with a lot of the in-state universities in North Carolina. Like I have spent a summer at Meredith, NC State, App, Carolina, Colton did Duke, and like a lot of the other ones just over the course of my childhood. So I knew I felt comfortable there. And I was like, let's get out of that. Let's push ourselves. And I also just, I don't know why, I felt not unstoppable, but I never thought I would come home. I never thought I wouldn't make it as far as like safety wise. So I kind of was just like, you know, you can do this and I'll just prove it to everyone.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful I did it, but I don't really think there was a doubt. And I always knew physically I was capable and I would survive. I will say that first year was tougher than I thought.
Yeah.
But after that, we were good.
That brings me to my next question. How did you handle the transition period from high school and being in your hometown for so long to big city life, the change of pace that comes with it, and everything that's the crazy experience of moving from North Carolina to New York City as an 18-year-old?
Yeah, I struggled. And I don't think many people besides like my close friends know how much I struggled. Like from Instagram, people are like, she's doing the thing. She's living her best life.
I would agree with that.
Cried a lot. Missed home a lot. Was dealing at the time. I don't feel like I had the best relationship with my family. It wasn't bad, but like I was still at the place where my mom and I butted heads pretty frequently. We would purposely spite each other. Colton and I were just coming into like being friends, realizing that like he does things, I do things, like we're humans.
Yeah.
I also had a lot of FOMO because I'm just seeing post after story after notification that all my friends are doing this and that and pledging sororities and flying on military planes and taking trips, and like no one was doing what I was doing. Yeah. I don't know if I said that correctly, but you get what I meant.
I know what you mean.
So I compared a lot, which was silly because everyone was looking at me thinking, wow, she gets to go to Broadway shows on the weekend. She gets to go to the clubs. Like, you know, like they thought the same thing about me.
Right.
I miss the sports aspect of college and like that kind of like camaraderie, community, gung ho, like woo.
Yeah.
And then I also struggled because at school, I've mentioned it a few times, but people were very just independent. You did not hang out after class. Like your friends came from other places. There wasn't like clubs to get involved in. There wasn't even a campus. And I, as an 18-year-old, quite literally, because of my age, became an adult, but was put in a very, very high stakes environment where if I messed up, it wasn't campus security coming to save me and escort me home.
True.
It
True.
was
The city was your campus.
Or a scary man. Like,
yeah.
You just had to learn very fast. But I love a fast-paced environment, so it was worth it.
I know you do. Well, did with all of those like thinking like struggles and being a difficult first year, did you feel any doubt at any point, like when you were there, like maybe I shouldn't have done this, or did you know in the back of your head that like, yeah, this is hard, but I think I still made the right decision?
I think I always knew it was the right decision because I knew going in there would be tough aspects, but I was really, really passionate about my education. It goes back to every day going into the classroom. I wanted to be there. I wanted to learn. My classes were very long classes. They were 3 to 6 hours. So that took a good amount of my weeks. And then I eventually started working. So I always had a purpose and a passion, and like that aspect of my life had always been fulfilled. It was more the social thing I struggled with, which I just knew if I didn't have it, I'd be okay. But it does, I think, make me a little bit more emotional when I think of it in the terms of things. And at the time I was like, my life sucks, even though I knew it didn't.
Yeah.
I just wanted everything. And I wanted all that satisfaction of having these things. It's also just the age, whether you went to school in Manhattan or not, that your friendships evolve. Like you're not going to have high school to see each other. I was the one that moved away, so I had to deal with the consequences. And I think now, as more of my friends are experiencing that, they're like, "Oh,
that's what it's
this
like.
This isn't what I thought it was." And I was like,
"Yeah,
yep,
exactly." Well, a lot of people. My next question: people tended to over romanticize your life in New York because all they see is big, bright lights, amazing things. Which, while that is the case, sometimes that's not the reality all the time. So did the way that other people viewed you and your life ever affect like your mental state or put any pressure on you to be portraying and living out a certain image?
Oh, 1,000%. I still feel it to this day. I don't think that will ever escape me.
Yeah.
And it's something I've talked to my mom about at length, and she's like, I see your point, but I think it might be mentally harmful for you to feel like you have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly what Hannah said. People viewed it as such a glamorized thing, and specifically the first year, so many people messaged me saying, I don't know how you did it. You're living my dream. Like, I'm so proud of you. Like, I wish I could be you. All these things, like, which were so nice and really gassed a girl up. It gave me a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
But I struggled with a few aspects of it. It made me feel like I had to keep it up, which, granted, you do naturally. You go out and you do things, you take pictures, you post it, whatever. But if one thing doing social media, and before we even started a YouTube channel, but social media as a whole has taught me, is people are watching you. Like, they might not like your posts. They might not view every story, but they will go look at it. They'll go look at your highlights. If they go back and look and not like they keep tabs on you. And I just very quickly became aware that I was one of those people from my hometown that people kept tabs on. I also realized it because of how many people would reach out when they would come to New York. Which I never hated.
That's
but
a
I
whole
do think a lot of the tone that they took, in my opinion, was very disingenuous. I would respond to anyone. I am here to help. I understand if you were visiting when we were that young, you wouldn't know what to do. And even now, if you wanted to ask me for recommendations, I got good ones. Yeah. I do the same thing when I go somewhere and I know someone's lived there. I will reach out if we were semi close.
Right.
But a lot of them did it in kind of a condescending nature, like, like, we can hang out if you want to, or like, hope you're doing well. I know we didn't talk a lot in high school, like,
but like, give me information so that I can have a good time.
yeah, you don't have to define what our friendship or relationship could be now by what it was.
Right.
And like, I would rather you bluntly say, hey, I'm coming to visit. I don't know things to do. Could you give me some recommendations? It's very blunt. It's very like, but still cordial. Like, you're not saying, oh, let's hang out. So you have a tour guide, or like, I don't know. Because I had several, and there's one guy in particular that was just really kind of rude about it. And there was a set of girls that came, and they asked for places to go out. And if you're not from New York, you don't realize that you need a promoter to get in, specifically to clubs. And so they were like, like they asked for places. I gave recommendations.
Oh, don't say that they like asked you for like a promoter, or like to help them get in.
No, well, they didn't realize that. I think they went, couldn't get in, and then said, you should come out with us. And I said,
oh, that's suspicious.
Yeah.
No.
Which, was it a little bratty of me not to tell them they needed a promoter?
Maybe.
Yeah. But like,
but...
I can only give you so much.
Right.
But yeah, I will say something that I definitely don't talk about. I don't even know if I talk about this with you. It started in New York, and it's definitely carried. But just keeping up my appearance to society has become something that keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
In all honesty. And a lot of that has to do with my presence, which I'm not living a fake life, but sometimes on the weekends when I just want to sleep in, cook some food, maybe go on a walk, work out, and then come home and go to bed early, I feel like that's not what people want to see. They view me as this amazing person, which I am, and I appreciate it, and like I love it so much. But sometimes I'm like, I don't want to let them down.
Do you think that's like self pressure? Like do you think that's you just putting pressure on yourself though also? Because in reality, like everybody knows that you're just a human being, as amazing as people think you are, and the things that you've done are different than what most people have done. So it's interesting. I feel like you let yourself put that pressure on yourself too, to be this like not icon, but like, you know, to always have something going on, to always have something to like talk about, I guess.
Yeah. And that's 100% true. And it's because I like it. It's because I strive to do the impossible. I don't want to always have excuses or reasons why. And like, I do jump at almost every opportunity. So it's finding that balance of knowing, like, and this is one so random and recently that I did, probably like 6 months ago, I turned off my Snap Map location, which I was like, I'll never do that.
Yeah.
And I have tried since to turn it back on, and I can't do it. I love being aloof. I love not knowing where I'm at. It's just because I know people will check it.
Yeah.
You know? And like, there's times where I don't want to have someone have access. My true friends have my Find My, and that's good.
Yeah.
You know? Like, so that's just one.
Okay. So you did a big move to New York City when you graduated high school, starting college, and you recently did a big move to Colorado when you got a new job. So how was the move to New York similar and different to the move to Colorado? Obviously, one was for college and you didn't know anybody really, and the other one is for your career and beginning your adult life, and you didn't know anybody really either. So they're a little bit different in that way, but can you break down for the listeners as best as you can, since you are still new to Colorado, how were those moves similar and different?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll try to stick to mainly like general transportation things, not like the difference between college and post-grad, because we all know that. When I moved for the first time to New York, I felt like I needed to bring way more than I needed. Just because maybe it was attachment, maybe it was fear of not having enough money at the time, maybe it was like just not knowing all that you would or wouldn't need in New York, like certain things you need in North Carolina that you didn't in New York, and I brought them anyway because I was like, well, it's mine, I'll take it.
You wouldn't know.
Right. I will say moving a second time puts in perspective what you A, want to keep, and B, what you'll need. You don't need it all, and I'm a big fan of minimalist, like the less stuff the better, but I also am a big fan of being prepared. There's certain things where I'm like, you know, I might not need it every day, but I'll be happy to have that.
Yeah.
So that's a little counterproductive, but you get the gist. It felt different this time because I knew there was a definite timeline on the other one. This one is very much open-ended. And as for right now, it's indefinite. I'm sure I will move again at some point, but when and why and how?
And to where?
No idea.
No. Yeah.
And it's nowhere on the agenda anytime soon. I will also say, distance-wise, quite different. It really put in perspective going home. I'm a sucker for going home, and I get the urge very last minute to book very expensive flights, and this just isn't as feasible to do that. So I really felt a sense of true, like, just letting go of expectations, letting go of life this time, because I kind of knew what New York would be. Part of that was the college aspect, but it's New York City. The lights and the pictures painted for you.
It's true.
Never
it's
been
true.
here. Didn't know what this was. But I think that's what I needed at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Well, with being in Colorado, you're there because you got a job. If you don't know, you should know by now. Kenna got a job, okay? And she's in Colorado. With starting a new job and being one of the youngest people there, do you find that it's hard for people to take you seriously, or do you feel like you're respected as an equal in the office?
This is good. I 100% feel like I am treated as an equal, to be quite honest. I don't think they know how young I am.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for someone to be like, wait,
you're
what?
how old?
I'm waiting for my birthday to come around in October and then be like,
how old are you? And you're like, oh, I'm turning 24. Yeah.
But I will say, kind of tying back to the question you asked earlier, this is where I personally feel that I need to prove to them that I am the best damn 23-year-old they've ever hired. And right now there is a lot of moving up at the company. One girl got promoted in 3 months. Another girl got promoted in 4. So am I trying to do 2? Sure.
She said, I'm trying to overachieve and be promoted tomorrow.
Yeah, which I don't realistically think that'll happen, but I know I'm capable of it. I know, like, I just want to exceed your expectations as a 23-year-old and just make people shocked. Because they see my professionalism, they see my qualifications, which I'm very appreciative of how appreciative they are of me.
Yeah.
We did a debriefing today before we left for 30 minutes, and it was with an associate designer, so not a lead designer, but higher than me and the design totem pole. And she was like, I am so thankful to have you. Like, you're going to make my life so much easier. Like, I'm here to advocate for you. Like, if you want to be on special projects or go on things, let us know. Like, let me know. If you just want to talk, I'm here. Like,
that's nice.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, and it's good to have goals to, like you said, you want them to know that you're the best 23-year-old they hired. It's good to have goals to reach towards so that, like, you can always be improving and growing, because there's always room for that, as we all know.
Yeah. Thank you.
So that kind of wraps up my, like, life story questions. And so now I'm going to move on to, like, the more random, like, general questions that don't really fit into a timeline. So my first one, it might sound familiar, is when have you been the most proud of yourself in your life?
I would probably say when I moved to New York.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's just because I think there was a lot of, no one really knew if I would make it. No one would know what I was capable of. And even though I knew I was strong enough, I didn't know exactly what that looked like. And I truly think like it's given me a sense of confidence, as well as just like pride in myself, that I don't know if anything will ever quite have that impact. I think it was also because of the place I was at in life. All those pieces just kind of came together for me, and it's given me the confidence to do what I do now. So
I feel like I don't think New York changed you, but it definitely shaped you into who you are now. And a lot of your qualities, I feel like, would be a little bit different if you didn't live in New York for 4 years. So definitely feel like it was monumental.
Yeah, I've recently been telling people that my personality might be a Southern girl, but my soul is a New Yorker. So
That's good. That's good.
yeah.
Okay. This one is a little bit of a hard hitter, and I don't know why I put this on here, but like we're getting real, okay?
Oh, bestie.
When was the last time you cried and why? If you feel comfortable sharing why, you can. If not,
Sure.
you can just say when it was.
I feel like typically when I cry, I'll go through like a month of crying frequently, and then I won't cry again for a long time. But I've also been finding myself to be a little bit more emotional about happy things recently. Like almost a happy or a prideful kind of cry or like a tear up moment. Which growing up I didn't have that. So what are these emotions? The Saturday before I started my new job, I was just in my feels, and not about like a boy or anything, because that's silly. But more so just that I'm at this place in my life that I have all these new responsibilities. I was really befuddled by the idea of like having to take vacation days to get more than 2 days off.
Yeah, you're a real adult now, and that's crazy.
Which it just kind of, I was in the shower and I was like, I looked around and I was like, this is my last day of freedom? You're telling me this? Yeah. Unless I go unemployed or self-employed, is the last day I report to the man?
That's insane to think about, yeah.
Yeah, it just was really reflective. And I mentioned earlier, as well as in other episodes, I, as a kid, really struggled to process the idea of going to college and then just getting a job. It did not logically make sense how you just boof, job.
Yeah,
and
you
I
get
had
a piece of paper and now here you are at a job.
Yeah, and I was a little in disbelief, but I'm here now and I love it. But that was the last time I cried, and why? I was proud.
Okay, that's like that's a better, like, that's a good reason, kind of. Like, it's like, kind of like,
it was
oh
like
gosh, my life is, yeah, it's like bittersweet.
It was
that's
mournful.
The word.
Yes.
Bittersweet.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Pop off. Adjectives. Okay, next question. What is something about you that other people would find surprising?
I should have been ready for this, and I'm not.
I know. I feel like this is like the worst question ever, because when people ask me this, I'm like, what? Like,
can you
nothing.
repeat it?
What is something about you that other people would find surprising?
Okay, I'll say this.
Okay.
I think off social media and through things, people might think I'm like a glitz and glam girly.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, I like nice things. I like to feel pretty. I like to be clean. I like things. But at the end of the day, I would kind of consider myself a tomboy, and I would consider myself one of the most down-to-earth people I know, as far as I'm not going to judge you for the car you drive, the home you're in. If I come into your home, I will treat it like my own, as in I will sit on your couch like I would my own. I will clean the dishes like I would my own. And I'm really, like, I'm down to experience life from other people's point of view. I love to know what other people are passionate about, and it's not always like the kenna show. It doesn't need to be about me. Like, I'm just your average girly next door. That's done some cool things. So,
okay, I would agree with that, because, like you said, even from people who maybe like just people who I have talked to who know me and only know you from social media. Like, I get that vibe from them talking about you, and not that they say anything bad, but they'll just be like, "Oh, Kenna, she's doing it all. She's this like fabulous, like whatever." And I'm like, while she is, I feel like people think you're more like surface level than you really are.
They think they need to impress me, which we know by friends in the past, they've had that feeling, and I'm like, please just be yourself.
You're just like everybody else.
Yeah, this is something that I think is part of the reason why guys are intimidated too. I think once they get to know me, they're like, oh my gosh, she's just chill, she's just like me, or like a person, but from the outside it might look like, oh crap, she's like
scary for some reason. I'm
not afraid to get dirty. I'm not afraid to do whatever.
Okay, you kind of asked me this, I think, maybe. I don't remember if it was worded in the same way, but what do you wish people knew about you? And don't say that you're more down to earth than they think, because I need a different answer.
Okay, fair enough. That I'm just down for a good time.
Okay.
Like, I am, even if you think I might not like it or might not be quote unquote up my alley, like, I am here to live life. I do want to experience it all. I want to do it all. I want to do the crazy. I want to do the mundane. Like, everything few and far between. Like, I want to take the most extravagant trips, but I also want to spend weeks on end binge watching a Netflix show with my friends or going to every bar in the city. And
yeah,
I don't know, just I want to do it all. I really am down.
You're
for
here to
whatever.
live. Yeah.
Here to live life.
She's here to live life, ladies and gents.
Yeah. I mean, I do thrive and love the crazy things, and I feel like anyone in my life that's got to do something like kind of crazy stupid or crazy fun, like when I let my guard down and just like, I'm here to live, you really got to see me at my best, and me in such like a rare form, because sometimes I do get very business focused, but like I'm trying to let that guard down more frequently and more often. It's still a treat. It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Because I've done some silly stuff, kids, but it's all like, it's all great stuff, and it leads to great stories and great memories with great people. So
all for the
I
memes.
would say that. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. This one is going to be hard for you to answer, I know, because, well, I think in some ways it'll be hard for you to answer, but I think, let me just ask the question. Okay. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I know that's a hard question.
You really did this one to me. You really did.
I know.
This is like the first one I asked you.
I know. That's a really hard question because, like you said earlier, you just moved and you don't know what your life is going to be like in the future. But to your best of your ability, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Gosh.
I know, that's so hard. I'm sorry.
It's hard to see me anywhere. Yeah. It's hard to see me anywhere other than where I am now.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be back on the East Coast.
I agree.
I'll be here or somewhere either further west or further south. I think I'll be in Seattle, here, or Texas.
Hot take. Okay.
Maybe Georgia, because I do have a place in my heart for Georgia, which I know that falls under the East Coast, but it's not home.
Right.
I think I will be a lot more settled. I think in 5 years, if you ask me this question, I would have a lot better idea of what the next 5 would look like.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because I'm 23 now, and 5 years I'll be 28.
Yeah.
Hopefully at a place getting ready to either plan or beginning to start what that next chapter looks like, whether that's a relationship, whether that's settling down, whether that's diving deeper into my career. I don't think at this time I can really know what that looks like. I do think a lot of those things will ebb and flow in the next 5, but do I think I'm going to get it right? Probably not. Or at least I'll tell you right now, I won't be married in 5 years.
No,
kids in 5 years. I won't.
No. I could see you having like a serious relationship, but I don't know that I don't think you'll be like married or to that point yet.
Right. Because I think a lot of people, when you ask them that question, regardless of their age, they just assume in the next 5 years is when that's going to happen. I'll tell you right now,
everybody's go-to. Yeah.
I hope to I hope I love my job as much as I do now. Whether I'm here or somewhere else, I have a feeling I'm going to be with the company.
Still.
Yeah. At least right now, if I had to guess.
I think I could see that.
I could see around...
I could even see it being somewhere else. Like, I could see like transferring, but being with the same company. Yes.
They are constantly opening new galleries and revamping things. And I could see potentially after 5 years working up to either head designer or even working at the home office, which is like their corporate headquarters as a larger scale designer. And potentially having to move for that opportunity. So we will see.
The world is your oyster. We got lots of opportunities for the next 5 years. So who knows where
Yeah.
life will take you.
Yeah. I guess.
All right. Last few questions. 2 of them are short, and one of them is a little
Why do I
more
not want it to
longer.
end? I feel like I just
I know.
got started.
I know, right? I know. I feel like we just started it, but then I look at the clock and I'm like, it's almost an hour. How has it already gone by?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this one's pretty short and sweet and simple. If you could describe yourself in 3 words, what would they be?
Okay, let me think really quickly.
Okay.
If I could describe myself,
I'm about to pull a kenna and sing bum bottom People are gonna be like, stop singing, close your mouth.
They're like, why does she keep doing that? Okay. I'm gonna do
Let's hear it.
fun.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm fun.
Uh-huh.
Gracious. I feel I try to meet everyone with grace because we're all at different spots. And then I wouldn't be me without being kind. So
okay, those are good. I just came up with one more question.
okay.
What are 3 words that you aspire to be?
Oh.
Those were good, and that was my original question, but now
yeah.
I want to know like 3 things that you aspire to be.
Aspire to be compassionate or more compassionate. I aspire to become a mentor. Something I'm really passionate about is finding myself a mentor and then eventually becoming one for someone else, specifically related to design. And then, I aspire to be I'm going to say I aspire to be humble just because I hope to always have a level head on my shoulders and not let the things I've done affect me. And we all know I've had my moments.
Yeah.
But I do try to every day come back to the girl next door.
Okay, that's good. I like that answer a lot. That's good.
Thank you.
Okay. One funny question and then a final question.
Oh,
what is it like being the prettiest person to walk the face of the earth?
I knew this was going to come back to bite me in the butt.
Tell us.
Should I give the backstory or no?
You could.
So
let's just say that yesterday Kenna was feeling herself, and I received a random FaceTime call just for me to know that.
Okay, guys. I remember I said I wanted to be humble. We're working on it.
I know I'm dead. That's why this was perfect timing.
I don't know what it is, but I just feel not only mentally but physically have been glowing recently.
You've been glowing.
I feel my skin looks good. My makeup looks good.
Drop the routine.
Okay. Surprisingly, I'm impressed with my body for not working out as much as I wanted to. I've just been taking care of myself. So really mind, body, soul popping off. So I FaceTimed Hannah yesterday and was like, I just wanted to say that I'm just too dang pretty. Like, too pretty for what? I don't know.
For what?
I was just feeling myself and I had to let
for
someone
your
know.
own good. Yeah. It was, hey, listen, if you got to hype yourself up sometimes, okay?
Right.
It's good to know.
Who will.
Exactly. That was just funny. I had to put that one in there, put a little lighthearted, fun question in there to lighten the mood. Last question. Reflecting on today's interview, how do you feel? How did it go? How do you feel about the things we covered?
Glad you asked this.
Let's debrief real quick.
This is me, just being me. I think it was good. I truly am so proud of who I am. I've said it once and I'll say it again. I do feel like my greatest project in life is myself. And that's part of always wanting to be better and growing better. But with that, I think it was great. But could I have done better? Sure. I get a little rambly sometimes. I get a little preachy. I also think specifically in regards to the childhood one, sometimes you just be sparking memories and you're like, this and this.
I know, and it just takes you down a rabbit hole that you didn't expect to go down.
Yeah, which I find people's childhoods so fascinating because that is really what shapes you for who you are. It's where you get your good qualities and specifically your bad qualities.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of people don't know about, like, unless you're super close with somebody, I feel like you don't know a lot about people's childhoods because I don't think it's just something that everybody talks about unless you're, like I said, super close with the person. So it's interesting to, like, learn about that from somebody else.
Yeah. And I have this, I don't know, I want to credit my good memory to dance because it wasn't school because I couldn't remember shit. But learning combos all the time, got it. I have this freakish memory where I pretty much word for word remember most conversations I have with people.
Wow. She said, run it back. I got the receipts. Don't try to cross me because I know.
Yeah. Which is also why I stay up at night because, like, I'll just be minding my business. Yeah. And it'll come in my head. I'm like,
and you're like, hold up. Nobody invited you here.
Right. I don't need that trauma sometimes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Overall, I'm happy, though. I love this. I hope we do it again. I hope people like it.
I feel like we should do it again. It was
Let's
fun.
run it back.
I know. It was fun for me to ask questions and answer questions, honestly. So
yeah, now that we've done both, I'm trying to decide: do I like interviewing or being interviewed the most? I like both. Like
both were good.
Both were good.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Well, thank you.
That is all my questions. You did a good job.
Yes, you asked really good questions.
Good. I'm glad because I thought some of them were good, but you never know. You know.
Yeah, I liked the order you went in, and I'm really impressed of like. You went broad, but in a good way. I think I almost went too specific, but teach their own. They're both good.
I feel like that was kind of good for both of us, though. Like, I feel like I need more specific, whereas you're good at answering broad questions and like kind of taking it in your own direction. So we knew what we were doing.
True, and that's where we know each other. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you want more of our podcast, go listen to our older episodes. You can find them on YouTube at youtube.com/kenhan or on Spotify and Apple Podcast at The Girls That Get It Podcast. Do all the things, rate, review, like, subscribe, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.